Well, hiya, hiya. It's a pleasure always to have somebody of quality on the air with me. And somebody who actually was a producer, a talent, a director. He's had all the jobs. So you know, we're really auditioning here for him. Now he's an author, and he has a book, which is, he's promoting it. He didn't bring it up, I did. Because we always hate when guests get on and say, "Oh, it's in my book." You know, that's, when they do that, you know you're in trouble with the guests. So Bill Boggs. Bill is he's holding it up. There, you couldn't wait. You couldn't wait.
No, well, my arm just automatic when I hear my name these days. You know, because I've done a lot of shows. When I hear my name, my arm automatically flies up. With the book in my hand at night, even sometimes I'll find myself dreaming and my arm flying up. And
you're shameless. You're shameless. And I saw you in a pool with the book. You had the book in a pool in some plastic case so that it wouldn't get wet.
Well, I figured, you know, anything I can do, Joe. By the way, the book is called The Adventures of Spike the Wonder Dog, as told to Bill Boggs. You know, it's always good, like if you have a guest who has a book, to mention the title of the book, or then the guest has to do it. It's called The Adventures of Spike the Wonder Dog, as told to Bill Boggs, and it has, look at that warning. Look at that bold warning right there. Can you read that, Joey?
Yeah. The dog talks to you, right? I had a wonder dog. I had a wonder dog when I was on the air in Buffalo called a Wonder Dog Stupid, but I don't think you want to go there. Now, Bill,
this book.
I know your book. Now, wait, we'll get back to that, okay? Because you got to leave them wanting more, and I'm sure they're going to want to read this thing because it's well written, it's funny, and all the great comics are writing about it, saying it's terrific. You even got my friend Mark Elliott. You got what's his name from Saturday Night Live. You got everybody likes you, and they love your book. They love your book.
It's difficult to sell books, Joey. I mean, it's really difficult to get somebody to buy. Even you probably haven't bought the book, but it's very difficult.
I did buy the book, and as a matter of fact, the reason you can't sell books is you can't read while you're marching.
Yeah, I know.
This is very difficult. But you can have an ear pod, so you should do an audio book.
Oh yeah, Audible is being recorded next month.
Yeah, that's what you got to do.
Coming out next month. Anyway, go ahead.
Don't say coming out. We're just finishing June, and I don't want to hear this. I've had enough. When did they have the going in? That's the month that I want to see. So Bill Boggs, who's been famously a very, very big, he's a lot of things, but I want to start with this. And there is no bigger friend to Sinatra than Bill Boggs that I could think of. Frank follows Sid Mark, who, and are you from Philly originally, Bill?
Yeah, I grew up in Philadelphia, and when it first came on the air, I was listening to Fridays with Frank with Sid Mark. Before that, Sid Mark, the esteemed Philadelphia, I won't say Philadelphia radio personality. He's a radio personality. He happens to be based in Philadelphia. Had a show called The Mark of Jazz, and I've gotten to know Sid over the years. He just had a anniversary show for the Sounds of Sinatra, and I went down from New York. Bobby Rydell, a friend of mine, performed. And Tom Dreesen, who also has a book out. You should invite Tom to be on your show. You know, anybody with a book is just dying to talk about their book. Did I mention my book? Yeah, I did mention. That's right. Anyway, yeah. So yes, to answer your questions, I could have just said yes. I know Sid Mark. Yes, I'm from Philadelphia. Next question.
Oh, all right. So it's not a Q&A, but I want to get friendly here with you about Sinatra. Did you know the old man, or is this just are you just a super fan?
Well, I never referred to him as the old man. The only time I've ever heard that was when I was in the Army. They would refer to the officers as the old man. I always referred to him as Frank. I never referred to him as Mr. Sinatra. And yes, I met Frank in 1975. Jilly introduced me to Frank at 4 o'clock in the morning, and like my mother and father, who were big Sinatra fans, I was and remain a huge Sinatra fan. I had snuck into the 500 Club in Atlantic City, New Jersey, dressed as a busboy to see Frank, which is I do a whole show called Memories of Sinatra. And sometimes when people ask me these questions, I lapse into the material and it's too long. Anyway, I met Frank. We hit it off at 4 o'clock in the morning, and it was Easter Sunday morning, so it was April. 1975, and he suggested that, he said, I'm going to be in New York in September with Ellen Basie. They had I think a 3-week run at the Uris Theater. And he said, maybe I'll come by and do your show. And he did. So that's the night I met Frank. I saw him again the next night. I saw him backstage a couple times at the Uris. He came to it turned out to be the longest interview of his career ever on television. But actually, when he did my show, which had the odd title of Midday Live with Bill Boggs, I guess that's because I was on it.
Tell everybody it was a television show and a TV show out of New York.
Yes, that show was out of New York, and it was all down the East Coast. It was on Armed Forces Television, which is nice. A lot of times I'll hear from soldiers around the world, who watch that show. And he had never been on a talk show before, so the very fact that he showed up and did my program made headlines around the world. And it was the first year that I was in New York with the show, and it really helped codify me. It's not difficult to have much credibility. It's not difficult to have credibility as a talk show host if Sinatra has done your program. All manner of people were on the show with whom he worked and knew: Natalie Wood, Jerry Lewis, Sammy Davis Jr., a lot of people on the show, but Frank was a very special guest.
Well, I was friends with, until she passed away, with Keely Smith. And Keely and Vinnie Falcone calls him the old man. And he called, of course, Frank affectionately called her the Indian. So there was a lot going on with the behind the scenes. I guess I wasn't being irreverent when I called him the old man. But when I worked in Philly, he had that return to the Spectrum. At the time, it was called that. And he was doing his concert, which was a follow-up to the one in New York where he made his comeback, at Howard Cosell had emceed that one. But in Philadelphia, all the Gabones were out. Everybody was fighting. All the South Philly people were fighting. And I said, oh, man, old Black and Blue Eyes is back. I mean, it was a tremendous show. And a nun brought me, the sister of Terry Cashman, who wrote the baseball song, Yeah. So she took me to see him. So anyway, we all got a little relationship. But I wanted to ask you about this. Did you ever have when you had the TV show? Were you on the same channel as Soupy Sales at the time? I don't remember.
I was. I believe that Soupy Sales had been on Channel 5, but Soupy was not working on Channel 5 when I was at Channel 5. I mean, obviously, Channel 5 wasn't big enough for Soupy Sales and Bill Boggs. I mean, two gigantic personalities like that could never really coexist in one place. But he had worked on Channel 5 during the pie in the face days.
Well, I want to ask also, I just have this in my head. This is not anything I read. But were you the first host on the Food Channel when they began that, going to restaurants and having someone in a booth doing interviews? I remember you doing that, but I don't know who was the first one. I think it was you. Is that right?
Oh, yes. The concept of, when I take the big sleep, the 6 feet under sleep, I will be lucky if the New York Times gives me an obituary this big. But the one thing they should mention is that I'm the only thing I've invented in my entire career on television is the concept of interviewing people and eating at the same time. That lofty notion is my concept. We did it on Midday Live, and once a week we had a thing called a round table. My thought was, we're on at lunchtime. Many people are home eating lunch. And why don't we have lunch every now and then? I'm interviewing and they're eating, so why not we eat and interview? And it worked. And it was on for several years, the round table. We did Thanksgiving shows, probably once a week, maybe once every 2 weeks. And then when I was, somehow I got the job. It's one of those jobs, my agent actually got me this job. It's a rare occurrence. I was the anchor of Weekend Today in New York on WNBC for two years. That was a great job. And they asked me if I wanted to have a signature piece. So I thought, yeah, why don't I do interviewing people? So I took that concept then to WNBC, and we got it sponsored by American Express. And what I did then was I would take like New York New York personalities like weathermen at the station, or newspaper writers, or what people, cabaret artists, and take 4 or 5 of them. And Mark Simone was always on as a regular. Ishbel Burnett was on as a regular. And we go to different guests every week. We go to restaurants in the tri-state area and did about a 3-minute piece on the restaurant. So the concept of actually being in a restaurant and reviewing restaurants and talking about restaurants can actually be attributed to probably that in 1992.
Yeah, that's what
I was on the Food Network starting in 94. My first show there was TV Diners with Nina Griscom, which was the first ever national restaurant review show. And then I created Bill Boggs Corner Table, actually third time interviewing celebrities in their restaurants. And the first 2-3 people are all people whom I knew who helped me to launch the show. Only one of their names can be mentioned anymore in public, or one was Whoopi Goldberg. The other...
Why can't you mention the other ones? What's that?
Oh, no. Come on, Joey. I mean, my book, which I haven't mentioned.
Here we go. Never mind. Wait a minute. It's been at least 4 seconds.
My book has that look, politically incorrect humor. You see that? That's me. But I know the Joey Reynolds I know would not really permit the names Bill Cosby and Matt Lauer to be mentioned on his program. Oh, Jesus, cut that.
So how about Morton Downey Jr.? You produced that show.
I was an executive producer. It's a
what does that mean? I mean, you were the guy running the show.
Lofty title, executive producer. It's the difference between being a producer, working there in the trenches, and the guy sitting in the desk with your feet up on the desk, running the whole operation like, the master marionette, firing people, hiring people. Oh, God, those were the days. I was drunk with power, and I was frequently drunk also.
That's why I'm drinking Canada Dry, but I almost did that when I lived in Buffalo. I drank Canada Dry all right when I went over to Fort Erie. But, this is, and we're not Dick Robinson, who's Diet Pepsi. That's all he ever does.
Dick Robinson, I tried to turn him on to Runa beverage. When I met him, he was drinking a lot. I thought it was Diet Coke.
Yeah, a Diet Pepsi because of the guy who runs the Kravitz Center.
Yeah.
Bobby something or other. I forgot, from the Pepsi Cola bottler from New England. And anyway, you have friends with all these guys in Palm Beach. That's what I'm getting at. And you're wearing a Palm Beach outfit. You got a white jacket on. I mean, it's 90 degrees out. What is it?
Very good, Joey.
Yeah. So now the Palm Beach look. The Palm Beach look is to wear no socks too. Do you have that as well?
Going all the way back to high school, one summer, once it got warm, I stopped wearing socks. I never wear socks in warm weather, ever. Although I have a drawer full of socks. Jane, my beloved lady Jane, my girlfriend, my roommate, my one and only, gave me 6 pair of socks. I have enough socks for Christmas. I have enough socks to last me the rest of my life. That's the way I'm going through them right now. Well, I didn't like talking about footwear tonight, but it's unique to talk about socks.
Yeah, well, I wonder if you ever really had a Ralph Lauren encounter, polo, because that's very Palm Beach, and you've been very famous in Palm Beach. I see you're with the elite corps. I
would not go so far as to say that. I attend a lot. Jane and I seriously attend a lot of music events. I mean, the elite corps down here is pretty elite corps. But we have a great time in Palm Beach. We're here, even though where were you, Joey? You're in an undisclosed location, right?
I'm in Fort Lauderdale. Everybody knows that. Right. I'm with my ex-wife. I'm in prison.
Oh yeah.
This is the payback for her. So anyway, I'm right up the road. That's why I mentioned Dick Robinson, who's my longtime lifelong friend. He was a disc jockey years ago, and he became a zillionaire.
He's a mogul. He owns radio stations. He's a creator of Legends.
And were you not on the air there the other night with somebody or somebody?
I was on with Bob Merrill. Bob Merrill's a friend of mine, a wonderful trumpet player, composer, band leader, and he now has the 8 to 10 hour on Legends Radio, which streams world. If you like, there's this thing called the Great American Songbook, and it has great songs in it from all the way back to Jerome Kern and Irving Berlin, up to almost Burt Bacharach. For some reason, Burt Bacharach should be there, but isn't in their playlist. I personally, you played a lot of music over the years. I think the Great American Songbook needs to be expanded. It needs a song like "Twisting the Night Away" by Sam Cooke. Man, this is so American, and so what? It has a different kind of beat. So a lot of songs have a little bit of a backbeat.
Well, I was thinking that back up in Palm Beach, I know that people give generously through charity. The very wealthy people in Palm Beach love the Governor's Club, and people who are in that higher echelon, they like to party, and they give their money freely. And Dick, I think, was the head of the Cancer Society or the American Heart Association. And Donald Trump and he are good friends, So Trump, when he walked by Dick's table last year as president, he said to Dick, how are things at the station? Of all things, you got the president of the United States who's asking about the standards by the sea, the radio station. And that's his, he loved that music. He loves that station, just to get away from politics for a minute, but that's his neighbor, It's an interesting culture. That's why I bring it up. And the counterculture to that is Hamptons, where you also are. Yes, you're a Hampton to Palm Beach guy. And
I love the beauty, the nature of the Hamptons, of the East Hampton, West Hampton, South Hampton, Quogue, Montauk, Amagansett. It's just a beautiful, Sagaponack. It's just a beautiful part of America. It's not the fact that it's packed with celebrities now. I started going to Sagaponack. I had a little beach house, like a shack, right on the beach, on this farmer's property, next to a couple other like two-bedroom places with a little dinky bathroom, led right out to the beach. In 1978, I got the house there, and I loved it. And in '78, people were saying, "Oh, the Hamptons are great, but they're not like they used to be." So everything changes. But the allure for me has always been the beach, the sky, the big sky, the beautiful trees, the open spaces. And of course the culture has followed that in the Hamptons. But if it looks like being trendy, it's never trendy for me. It's just a beautiful place.
Well, so on one side you got the Hamptons, the other side you got Palm Beach, and you're kind of slumming it in Manhattan. Is that what's going on? Where are you? Where are we right now with this camera?
With what?
Where are we? Where are you located?
Undisclosed location, Joey. I really cannot. I can't disclose it. But you hinted at it before when you said Palm Beach. I'm in Palm Beach right now.
Oh, you are? Honestly?
Yep.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I thought you knew because of the jacket.
Oh no, I would have gone up the road. Well, we have to separate now. Are you following all the guidelines?
Pardon me?
Are you following the guidelines? The mask and separating?
100%. 100%. This is I have you have a podcast called Trapped Live, and at the end of every show, I said, "Don't forget, keep your guard up. You can't become complacent. As we become complacent, it has spread. There's not going to be like waves. It's just like a forest fire. It's going to erupt here. It's going to erupt there, and I fear." Unless it just disappears, as some viruses do, there is some efficacy in thinking it could happen. It's not a cure. I don't think we're going to be okay until we have a vaccine.
Yeah, I agree, and I hope we get one pretty quick because we're all getting stir crazy. I don't like being in one spot like this, but we can't work. You can't make movies, you can't make television shows, you can't have audiences, you can't even go to a movie. You can do that on Netflix, or Amazon Prime. So what do you do? what do you do for entertainment? You're not going to concerts or jazz things anymore.
See, I'm going to answer that seriously. I have been working about 4 or 5 hours a day, 5 days a week since mid-April on book promotion. I've done about 46 shows. The secretarial work involved. I have to send out books to people. And so I'm committed. When I created this, the book, The Adventures of Spike the Wonder Dog, is the single best piece of work of my life. It is without question. It has gotten excellent reviews. I'm not bragging. I'm just stating the fact. And I really believe in it. And 3 weeks ago, the New York Times said, if you're an author coming out with a book now, this is not a self-published book. It's published by Post Hill Press.
Right.
And you're not Stephen King. You're facing insurmountable odds. So, I wrote this. I put my heart and soul into it. I rewrote it. It's comedy material. It's 280 pages of comedy writing. I began as a comedy writer. People have no idea about my whole life in comedy. Created with Richard Baker, Comedy Tonight, the syndicated show, the first show in the history of television that just had comedians on it. We had 450 comedians on that national series over the course of a couple years. So I believe in the book, and so that's what I've been doing. I haven't missed socializing at all, not at all. And then one day a week, Jane, usually Friday, Jane and I will go to a restaurant and sit outside. I don't miss seeing people. I'm so active. I am blessed. I mean, you think about our friend Ellen just sitting there in an apartment with nothing to do. I am blessed that I'm busy. I really am blessed. I know it. I have never been more grateful for the life I'm living than right now, even though I'm trapped here. That's how I feel.
Well, what do you do for work? No, that's a joke. Hey, listen, I know that you have a lot of interviews that you do all day long now, and promoting the book. We should tell everybody that the book is about Spike. Spike is a dog, and the dog is telling the story, not you.
Yeah, that's
the hook.
It is as if I became like a ventriloquist, and I got the dog to tell the story. The dog has an observational humor, like a Jerry Seinfeld observational humor. The Adventures of Spike the Wonder Dog is a dog story. It's a story, there have been tremendous, like A Dog's Purpose, A Dog's Life, The Art of Racing in the Rain, The Call of the Wild. This is a funny dog story. Winston Groom, the author of Forrest Gump, made into the big Academy Award-winning movie, said that Spike is fiction's funniest canine. So if you like dog stories and if you like comic novels, satirical novels, and he just has an eye. He has an eye for human foibles, the absurdities, the over-the-topness of our culture, the inauthenticity in people, the way they act. Would you like? Can I read?
Yeah. Like throw us a bone. I want to have a little bit of
I'm going to
sample here.
It's all written in Spike's voice, right? So as I said, it's channeled through me. So Spike is on the street with his master Bud, who's a talk show host like me, who's just been interviewed for Celebrity Dog magazine talking about Spike. And they're in New York. And let's see, where are we now? Oh, here we go. So Spike is talking, and he says, when I notice 2 Park Avenue women doing something I see all too frequently, I call these the oh my God women. A lady walking by is surprised as she sees another lady she thinks she knows. Eileen? Oh my God, she cries out real loud. Is that you? Sharon! Oh my God, Sharon! Eileen yells back at her as they walk toward each other. Then it happens. They go through this odd greeting ritual. You think it's weird that sometimes dogs smell each other's ass when they meet? What about this? First, Eileen and Sharon wave and yell more, oh my God, as they approach each other. Once close, they momentarily stop shrieking, oh my God, and rear back with their mouths wide open, looking like frozen people of Pompeii. Then over and over, it's, oh my God, Eileen, oh my God, Sharon, how are you? This is followed by, we have to get together. Oh my God, yes, we have to get together. Oh my God, yes, yes. But they're already standing there together. This is where I get confused. Yes, we'll get together. I'll call you, Eileen says. Yes, call, we'll make plans. Oh my God, this was great, Sharon says. But how come they didn't make plans when they were there already together? They walk off in different directions, each looking kind of happy. They hadn't wasted any more time, oh my Godding with the other. There you go, Pally. You oh my God women. I went to a Super Bowl party back in the days when, just this past year, Super Bowl Sunday, and I wanted to take something. So I went to Publix Market and I bought a football cake, big chocolate icing thing like this, and it was in the top. So I went to the house and I was with the man of the house, and I said, look, he said, that's terrific. I said, I'll bring this out when all of the women are around the table, and I'll open it up. You count how many oh my gods we get. So everyone's sitting around the table. I said, oh, I have something for you. I come out, I take it, I put it, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, look at that. It used to be just a term that used during orgasms, but now it applies to everything.
And you notice when you get in the car and you sit down, when you're my age, you grunt. Oh, it's just comes. What do you mean the dogs smell each other's asses? Where are you getting that from?
Observation of dogs.
I see.
I love to observe things. About once a month, I'll go out by myself, and I haven't done it. Well, I can do it now in an outdoor space, but it's just different now. And I just look at people. And so years of observing things, for 35 years, I've been having a notebook with me, taking notes of ideas. I have like a comedy track going in my mind. And so The Adventures of Spike the Wonder Dog, is told to Bill Boggs, is a product of comedic thinking, notes I've taken over the years, and my observational humor. I mean, what I just read to you about the oh my God women actually happens. But to take it and to satirize it like that, you have to send it up into satire like that. And that's what I've done to the book with the book. And we've gotten good reviews. It's hard to sell books. We're getting good reviews though.
How about going back on television? What are you thinking?
No one's interested in putting me on television, Joey. I've had 15 different shows. I'm going to be almost 50 years old. I mean, I'm aging out of the business. I'm aging out of the business. Would I want to be back on television? I'd love it, but I'm not. Look, I don't define my life by being on television. That's actually something in the book. There's this woman in the book who, her name is Donna Hanover, but she's not the Donna Hanover who was married to Rudy Giuliani. And she just got fired from her job as a sideline football reporter because she made a mistake of calling a punt a field goal. She didn't really know enough about the game. So she just got fired, like it's Tuesday. And that night, she goes to a restaurant with Bud, the talk show host, and people are coming up to, oh, I'm so sorry you got fired. What are you doing now? As if she suddenly has gotten a job. So what are you doing now? I'd love to be back on television. I don't see it in the cards. Who would hire me?
Well, how about? Well, wait a minute. I mean, there's a lot of people who are doing these things on the magazine format, following the actual Today Show. There's 2 more hours. Following Good Morning America, there's a couple of hours. I mean, there are shows besides the gangbang on The View. And,
there are a lot of. I just see the people would look at me as used goods. Even though I've won 4 Emmys,
that's not true. That's not true. That's really unfair. I mean, first of all,
how many people over 70 do you see being hired to be on television?
Well, I mean, there were big examples of it. Bill O'Reilly at one time, Larry King, and what's his name, Rose in the morning until he got scandalized. Yeah, I mean, the older people seem to go to these happy endings, But you have a Lady Jane. You're not going to do that. I don't think you will anyway. She's a lovely lady.
No, it's Although
Now let me ask you this. About that. We have gone through, since you've been a television celebrity and a producer and a director and a writer and author and all the things that we've talked about so far, and we've too many things to do in a short time.
thank you.
With all that you've done and are doing, you're still very active and you're still very fertile and you're referring to things that are current. So let's say that now the issue is ageism. It's not the black community is barking right now. Earlier it was the women, and we're still going to have remnants of all of this. The gay community just had a big gathering this last week. When I say community, I mean a gaggling, a plethora of people, organization that's disorganized maybe. But you have a different kind of a posture. You're very vital, and I don't know that you're 70 years old, but the fact of the matter is that you still could do it. And what about ageism? Why don't older people get television shows? What's the reason?
It must have to do with I think it probably has to do with the demographic that the advertisers are seeking. For a long time, it's been evident to me that there should be like an AARP or a senior channel. It just doesn't happen. By the way, I have no bitterness about this. When I took over Midday, I replaced somebody else, and somebody ends up replacing me. I was aged out of the Food Network together with all of the original people from 1994 when I was still in my 50s. We were replaced by people in their 30s. Ageism exists. I mean, without question, it exists. And
except in government. In government, it doesn't exist.
Except in government, yeah. I have an idea I think that our public officials, if you have to be a doctor, you have to have training. You have to be a lawyer, you have to have training. Even to be on television, you have to have some basic training, right?
Yeah.
I think like to be a senator, a congressperson, the vice president, you should have basic knowledge of the Constitution, the basic knowledge of history, basic knowledge of law. And you should be able to demonstrate that in some sort of a public service test. This will never happen, but there's some efficacy in actually thinking, gee, it would make sense if we elect leaders who have basic knowledge of the Constitution and American history.
One of our neighbors is 100 years old today, and she got her driver's license renewed for 4 more years. So if you want to come down to Florida, you guys, this is great, isn't it? I mean, we're living a lot longer, and I don't know. I just think it's time for people who are good to be on the air. Good, relevant,
I will say this. I am on the air. I have a show. It's called Trap Live. My last guest was Bob Costas. I had, Ann Hampton Calloway, Judy Gold, Lisa Lampanelli, Tom Cotter, Tom Dreesen were on the show, and several other guests. I do a show about every week, and it's a long form interview, just like I'm doing with you, Joy Reynolds, now. And I think post-pandemic, the sort of thing that you and I are doing now is going to be far more prevalent. I mean, there may even be a way to get like a sponsor if you have X amount of people, suppose you have 10,000 people watching, you might be able to get a sponsor to give you need $100 for holding up a product. You might be able to do that. It's possible. So I actually, when my last show went off the air, which was My Generation, 4 years ago, that's when I decided, rather than do what you said, hey, how about being on television and chase and do all the work trying to get my own, get some kind of a job, that I would write, that I would do something that was totally in my control, that used my talent, that had nothing to do with my age. And I have successfully done that. And it's been hugely fulfilling. And all these things where they always say, as you get older, you should be keeping your mind active. Writing a novel is like having a movie going on in your mind that you're writing on a daily basis. I can tell.
We lost a wonderful music writer today, Johnny Mandel. Did you know that?
Who
wrote for Sinatra? Johnny
Mandel. He arranged He arranged Ring-a-Ding-Dings, Frank's
Yeah.
first album for Reprise Records. You know how it goes? Life is swell. We're off to that small hotel, and suddenly a village bell resounds in the steeple, announcing to people, love's the loveliest thing. And the bell goes, ring,
Ring-a-ding-ding.
That's written by Conrad Van Heusen. That's arranged by Johnny Mandel.
And he was a wonderful man. Also, Carl Reiner, who was not quite 2,000 years old like he and Mel Brooks wanted to be.
I know.
Mel is still with us, incidentally. These are all treasures. So you're a treasure. What are you doing with that thing in your mouth there? You got to get some Alpo to sponsor that Spike book.
Water. This is water.
Oh.
I don't drink out of plastic bottles. I'll buy like an $8.95 bottle of wine. Of course, I'll pour the wine down the drain. So then I have a water bottle. So I have about 4 water bottles. They say that, plastic in the heat, if I go outside in the car, I don't want plastic. So I take a bottle with me.
All right, now, Bill Boggs, just before we leave here today, I would like you to hold up that book because you haven't gotten in enough plugs. You didn't make your quota.
We really didn't, Joey. I mean, that we really the plug meter. Let me see. Hold on. Where is it? I have one. 26 actual mentions of debating. The title of the book.
Spike.
11 times. Title of the book. Total potential people watching who will purchase 0 at the present time. So, the book is The Adventures of Spike the Wonder Dog, as told to Bill Boggs. Here's what the Daily News said, New York Daily News. Spike will keep you laughing and on the edge of your seat at the same time. This one is made for the big screen. And Leslie Bennett, who wrote the Joan Rivers biography, fans of transgressive humor like Family Guy and Dave Chappelle will appreciate Spike's wild tales. And Alan Zweibel, terrific.
Yeah, I love him. He was the one I was thinking of earlier with Saturday Night Live. That's Alan.
Original Saturday Night. Alan Zweibel said about this book, so smart, witty, and inventive that I had to keep reminding myself that I didn't write it. Isn't that nice?
That's because you guys are in the Friars together. Come on. You're Friars together, and you.
So what? Are you impugning? Wait,
yes, of course.
You know,
I love him.
I'm going to tell Alan Zweibel you said that.
No, you don't do that. I love Alan.
You're impugning his blurb on the back of my book. You are, Joey.
Well, I'd like to have a blurb. I have one for you. Why don't you do one of mine? Why don't you ask me to do one?
But I didn't think of it.
I know. But I have one. Let's see. I would say Spike, he never met a fire hydrant he didn't like.
I didn't think of it, Joey. It would have been good to ask you.
I know. I got to be more famous, and then I'll get back to you.
You would have had to read the book, Joey. It's a commitment. Somebody asked. It's 280 pages, Joey. You have other things to do.
No,
you can't take 280 pages out of being Joey Reynolds out of your life. You got to keep Joeying it.
I pre-ordered the book on Amazon. I was one of the first ones. Yeah. So I had to wait for the release. So don't give me that crap.
Thank you. By the way, Joey, have you read it? You haven't read it. Getting someone, and me included, if you make a movie, people, I'll watch the movie. But getting someone to read your book, it's not easy.
Well, because we're in an electronic jungle right now. That's why. You know that. Come on. You're going to do it next month. You're going to put one out.
Let me ask you a question. What have you, Joey Reynolds, been watching for entertainment during the period of time when you're home? You're probably watching more than usual. You're not on the street greeting people and doing the things you would normally do. What have you been watching, Joey?
Well, I watch a lot of the documentaries because I'm interested in certain subjects that I never knew before, and I refuse to watch the Geography Channel because I've seen 4,000 of their shows. I can't watch any more Seinfeld reruns. I can't watch Larry David anymore. These are not.
No, don't tell me what you can't watch. Tell me what you are watching.
I mean, I've reviewed them. I've gone through the series. The only thing that stays the same is Wheel of Fortune. because it's always the same deal, you know, and you forget what the answers were. It's like Jeopardy, you know, you forget what those answers are. And the other thing is Judge Judy. It's the same crap all the time. I can't put myself on that level anymore. So now I've gone to some higher level of viewing. And that's what I do. I watch my own tapes.
Well, you should. I have a lot of, we're both on YouTube. Now we're still on television. I'm on Bill Boggs TV on YouTube.
Is that where we get this podcast that you do every week? Where do we get that thing that you're talking about?
Both on Facebook. If you want to see, for example, you want to see the interview with Bob Costas last week, Bill Boggs TV. You just type in Bill Boggs and Bob Costas. There's two there, one from the Food Network and one from last Wednesday.
All right. Well, I hope you watch this because there's no editing. Pardon,
Joey? What did you say?
We don't edit. There's no editing. We don't have a grunt. We don't have a dwarf that with scissors that's going to make this thing shorter. So
I never liked editing. I always liked live television.
Yeah,
I guess we're going to wrap it up now. I guess, right?
Yeah, that's right. It's time. You know, we've had a.
How's your health? Are you healthy and well, Joey?
I'm.
Look,
I had the test last week, and I'm going to give my plasma, so I think I'm all right. You know, but you don't know because first of all, nobody knows what this thing is or where it came from. It's questionable, and what it's going to do, and how long it's going to be around, and how we're going to defeat it. It's a mystery. So I just kind of like take it a day at a time. I say my prayers and move my feet. That's all I can do, and just try to have some fun with people like you because you're great. And you know, and we didn't talk a lot about Morton Downey Jr., but he was my roommate, and we're both in the film about him, which is the documentary about him, and it was very revealing. You know, Bill, you put up with a lot of crap.
I've been on here for 40 minutes. If that's what you.
I just wanted to remind you that this is a review of that. I love you. You're great. Bill Boggs, and he's also overdressed for the room. But thank you so much. You're great. And yet, you know, I'm going to go watch your things on television now. All right? I promise you.
Thank you.
What's the name of that book you got again? I forgot that book title.
Well, I've written 3 books. The most recent, The Adventures of Spike the Wonder Dog, as told to Bill Boggs. The second book was Got What It Takes, published by HarperCollins. And the first book was At First Sight, a love story, published by Grossin and Dunlap. That was 1980. So I don't know if this is it for me. I'd like to write another one, but boy, it's hard to get. It took me 9 months to get a publishing deal. I want to end on a better note than that. And this is the note I want to end on. I'm going to shut up after this is, every day, count your blessings, even though things are terrible, and your health is your wealth. Do everything you can to keep yourself as healthy as possible. We have a friend. We have a friend. His first name is Bob. The man is 83 years old. He's probably in the top 10 percentile of men his age in good shape in America. He swims an hour in the ocean. He bicycle rides from Amagansett to Montauk and back with people every day. He lifts weights in his gym. He is a sterling example of good health. 3 weeks ago, he went for a walk on the beach and through some of the sand dunes there. You know, he came back with a fever, cold sweat, fingers turning blue. They have been unable to diagnose what happened to this man. He's a shadow of his former self at 2 points, hovering near death. He left for that walk like this, and he came back. So you never know. Savor the day, count your blessings, keep your guard up, and stay in touch with Joey Reynolds, who is a very good guy, and it facilitates a wonderful experience with his guests.
Oh, I love that story. Thank you for sharing that. That's the highlight of the broadcast. Thank you.
Okay.
God bless you. Thank you, Bill. All right, Bill Boggs, let a smile be your umbrella, but don't get a mouthful of rain or spike.